Well, I kind of started out from the bottom. My dad races, when I was a kid growing up, as a hobby, not as a professional like I've done it. But he, I spent all my weekends at the races with my dad, from as far back as I can remember, as small as I can remember. So the heritage that I had in the sport was, it goes back forever. In fact, I think I was conceived at the drag strip. So for me, it was something I always wanted to do. Obviously, my friends wanted to be firemen and astronauts and stuff, and I wanted to be a funny car driver. I used to go with my dad. I'd watch, the Snake and the Mongoose and Jungle Jim and all those kinds of guys on fire, upside down, through the top in traps. And I thought, man, I want to do that. I want to be that guy. So I always had the passion for it. So it was in my blood. And as I grew up, I didn't have wealthy parents, and I didn't have a sponsor to bring to any team. So I figured I better learn how to work on them and mechanically be able to work on the car and listen to it and know if I ever got a shot at driving, which I finally got a shot, and it paid off because my curve was pretty steep. They threw me in an alcohol dragster the first time, and I did real well, but it was because I think I'd worked on them forever. So ironically, this car, it holds the world record. It holds it over here in the States, but I don't think anybody's gone quicker in a quarter mile and backed it up like we did with the LA Hooker. The race that I talked about maybe being I went to as my childhood was the legendary March Meet here in the United States. It's a Famoso Raceway, and it's an event that was around when I was a kid. I spent every March at this race with my mom and dad, whether my dad raced or not. And so my memories as a kid of drag racing were mostly at this racetrack. So later on in life, when it came the opportunity to race at the March Meet, which they brought back here, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, whatever it was, I thought, man, this is like going back in time for me. And then I got the call from Steve Kluger at the time, who had the car, and we went up and set the, first of all, we set the quickest run, and then we backed it up, and it stayed a national record, which it is now. So I'm pretty excited to drive the car again. I get asked which I like better, and I hate to say it, I get paid to drive the Napa funny car, but I truly love driving the Outlaw Nitro stuff. It's for me, it puts the driver back into the car and the tune-up. Here's the funny thing: a lot of guys run computers on these cars now, and Kluger never had a computer on it, so he relied on me to tell him how the car felt and what it did, which was like going right back to 1970 for me. Before they had computers, the 70s and the 80s, when the driver would get out and he'd have to either tell the crew chief what he felt, or he was the crew chief. So Steve Kluger, he's a huge name here. He was famous because originally he built all of John Force's cars when John Force started winning championships. He was the guy, and you couldn't get a car built by him unless he was not building one for John Force. So the opportunity to drive for him is a lot like driving for Mr. Cowin. For me, it's going to be a huge thing to go drive for a legend, much like Steve Kluger is here in the United States, and I can't wait to be able to say, first of all, I've raced in Australia, but to be able to say I drove for Graeme Cowin is going to be pretty cool. The cool thing about when we first talked about going, Graeme and I talked, was bringing my wife. It's right when our season ends, and we got a pretty grueling season when we get to the countdown of the championship, and it's a 6-race shootout of the most nerve-bending racing that we have. I mean, it's all on the line for 6 races, and you could have the greatest season in the world going up to our U.S. Nationals, and then you could flop for 6 races, not have a championship, or vice versa. You can have an okay season and get into our countdown and have a great season and end up being a champion. So it's a very high, stressful 6 races. So right when the season's over, we planned this. So I got a couple days rest, and then heading to Australia. And the thing was, he was going to fly my wife with me, and I figured if I didn't go with her, I'd be divorced after a season. Had an opportunity to go to Australia. And then on top of that, my 16-year-old daughter was excited about going, so she's coming on as well. So we're going to get there, and I don't even know what to... David Grubnick's a great friend of mine, and he's talked so much about different things. He's actually going to be over there, and ironically, my crew chief, Ron Tobler, will be over there for a few days before he heads back, right when we get there. For me, it's all about the fan. I love going to new places. I love. I'm not going there just to make exhibition runs. I'm hoping to kick somebody's butt who's ever in the lane next to me, and I don't. I don't take to losing so easy. So I'm looking forward to the challenge of racing. But I've been online and looked at this racetrack, and it looks awesome. And the first thing I asked was safety-wise, how good is this track? And I had 5 Australians that were standing there and said, no worries, man. It's going to be, you got the best of the best there at this place. So I'm pretty pumped up about it. And I hope to start an annual event because I love going to new places and kind of getting these fans that haven't either met me or seen us race or seen what we do on the track. And getting to see something special. I know Larry Dixon went over. My teammate, my old teammate Tommy Johnson, just went over, and everything they talk about is just a great experience. So I can't wait to kind of blend everything I can bring and my competitiveness and all that over to Australia and race some of these guys that might think they got something. See you, man.